Welcome to Microsoft PowerPoint 2019 Lesson 1 by Megan Reese. If you have done my previous lessons in Excel and Word, I wanted to point out before we begin that this one is designed a little bit differently. My Word and Excel lessons are designed to have first a practice where you learn how to do all the features, and then there's an application where you apply what you have learned in a real life situation. We are not going to do that in PowerPoint. I've made PowerPoint much simpler, and it only has 4 assignments. And each assignment is that's just all there is. There's no practice. It's basically like, here's how you do everything you created in the PowerPoint and you're done. So it should be much quicker going through the lessons. Now, when you open up assignment 1 and you open up the directions, for this assignment, it's divided into basic features and advanced features. So what you're going to want to do is start in the basic features and just check the boxes of everything you already know how to do. And I put on this side, these are just ones that a lot of kids will already know just because, especially if you've done Word and Excel. If you've already done Word and Excel and this is your 3rd one, a lot of these you already know. Like custom bullets, for example, I've got it in advanced features, but if you've done Word and Excel, you learned that in Word, right? So there's some things over here that you're going to crop image, for example. So there's a lot of stuff if you have done the other 2, that's why I always teach PowerPoint last, that you already have learned, or even if you haven't done the other 2, you just know them because you've done them in other classes and you've picked it up. So this is just my assumption of what you probably already know. Go ahead and check the box if you already know it, so you kind of know what to look for, okay? One thing before we start, this lesson, when I was thinking of what topic the PowerPoint should be on, I did it on making an effective PowerPoint. And there's certain rules to making an effective PowerPoint that we are going to have to break for this assignment just because I want to make sure, for example, using different backgrounds on every page is super obnoxious. I would never do that in a real PowerPoint, but we have to do it so you make sure that you know how to do all the different types of backgrounds. So I just want to point that out. I'm aware of it. We're not going to make the most effective, beautiful PowerPoint because we need to cover all of these different areas, but still you're probably going to learn something new that you haven't learned before. However, like my other lessons, this video will not take you through the assignment and tell you exactly how to do it. I will have everything with the table of contents showing you each section that you wanted to learn. It might not be in the order that it's asked for in the assignment, however. So for example, I will have backgrounds and then I'll do them all in one section. So when you're like, oh, I'm clear down here and I'm doing a background, I may have to go back to the background section to see how to do that. So it's not necessarily going to be in perfect order. It's going to be designed more by topic so that you know where to find it. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is show you different types of backgrounds that you can create in PowerPoint. So when you want to do a background, I always just do right click and format background. If you want to find the button for it, I actually had to go look for it. I couldn't remember because I never use it. But if you go to design, format background is right there. So you can right click on the white area to do format background, or you can go here, okay? Which is going to pull up this little sidebar, which we're going to be using a lot, okay? We're going to use it a lot today. All right, so there's basically 4 to 5 different kinds here. So you can do a solid fill, which means I just say, I want this color, right? You can do a gradient fill, which means that you get to design a gradient. You can pick and choose what colors you want. And you can click and drag if you want to get rid of a color. And then there's different directions, rectangular, path. You can change, there's some presets in here. Remember, these have names. So on the test, it may ask you for that. Remember that you have to hold your cursor over it for a while to see what the name is. And then you can choose what level of transparency it has and whatnot. Notice you can also change the direction of it. And again, these also have names. So here it says from center, from bottom left, that's what it's talking about. Okay. The other type is we'll skip down to patterns. So pattern fills. I'm kind of surprised these are still an option because they're pretty obnoxious. I don't know that I've ever actually chosen to do a pattern fill except to teach you how to do it because I think they're pretty obnoxious. But if you're going to use a pattern fill, it's best to use colors that are pretty close to each other. Otherwise, it's just really jarring for the eye. There will be one slide where I have you do a pattern fill. I just try not to make it so obnoxious that you want to cry every time you look at it. Okay, so that's pattern fills. And then you've got your picture texture fill. So there are some textures right here that come with PowerPoint. And I don't think Microsoft has updated these textures in like 15 years. I swear they're the same ones from 2003. Like, they never change them. So they're there, and there will be one slide where I ask you to use one of the textures. If you don't like it very much, you can always change the transparency so it's not as obvious. But and you can't really change the color or do anything to it, I don't think. Maybe. Look at that. Maybe you can. Oh, you can. Look at that. I'm just playing. I don't even know. Okay, so you can come in over here and you can kind of change the color if you need to do that for your assignment so that it matches your color scheme. You're certainly welcome to do that. But there are other options in here. So remember that whenever you're doing a background, there's always these other options that let you do other things. Okay. And then, of course, there is the picture fill, which is where you go to insert and you actually go get a picture. So you could go online and grab a picture. I know for my students, when they are in my classroom, they can't go online. The online picture thing never works because the district has blocked it. So they never can get to this screen. I'm at my own house right now, so that's why I can pull it up. But you definitely don't want to do icons. But most of the time you're going to do from file and you're going to go get it from somewhere. So for instance, I might want to pull this in. And now that becomes my background. And I might want to change the transparency. If you're ever going to use a picture background, almost always you're going to want to change the transparency. I get kids all the time pulling in really obnoxious pictures and then it takes over. A picture background should never take over. This is a nice one, like it's just a background. It's designed to be a background. It's not, a picture from a cartoon or something that's super loud and obnoxious and tons of color. It's just, you want to be professional when you pick a picture to go in your background. So those are the 4 different types of backgrounds, 5 if you count texture and picture separately, that you can add to this. The next thing I want to talk about is a placeholder. So placeholders are these where it says click to add titles. Those are placeholders, okay? These are also placeholders. So what that means is if I click on this, it's automatically going to help me change that. It'll actually replace it with, in that case, a table. Or I can do a chart, right? And it'll actually let me do a chart. And so a lot of times you want to use the placeholder as like a shortcut. I'm Control-Zing to get out of this. 3D models, I think we do that. I think we do that on one of these. You can pull in a 3D model, but notice what it does when you use a placeholder. It replaces this box. So if you want to keep this box because you're putting stuff in it, and then you're like, I want to do a 3D model, then you're going to have to go up this way and do it instead. So placeholders just give you a shortcut to pulling stuff in. Okay, you can pull in a video that way. You can pull in, I think this is an image or pictures or whatever, online pictures. So they're just shortcuts that let you get through there. I'm going to next talk about the Slide Master because it is the first thing in your assignment that you're going to do. The Slide Master is an advanced feature, and I'll be honest, when I took the 2016 PowerPoint lesson, I was like, what is this feature? Like, I didn't even know what it was until I took the test, and I was like, this changes the whole game. Like, I couldn't believe I had gone so long not knowing how to do this in PowerPoint, because it's awesome. So we're going to go to View, and we're going to go to Slide Master. Now what the Slide Master does is any changes I make here will apply to every single slide. So for example, I'm going to close it for a minute. If I have a bunch of titles in here, like Title 1 and Title 2 and Title 3 or whatever, I have to go into each one and change the font. Go to each one and change the font. Add the background on every page. So if I go into Slide Master, I can do it all in one place. Okay, so I can say, okay, I want all of my content pages to have this background, and I want all of my title pages to have this background, and I want all of there's kind of 3 main ones. There's your content page, your title page, and then like your subtitle page, your section header. And then maybe for that one, I'm going to make that one be a pattern, right? Or not pattern, we'll do a gradient. Okay. And then I can also change my fonts. So I'm going to go into fonts, and I can go to customize fonts, and I can actually choose my fonts beforehand. So I can say, okay, I want all my titles to look like that, and then I want all my writing to be like that, okay? I save that, and now everything's changed. Notice that it changed every single slide, okay? And then I don't have to worry about fonts ever again. It's kind of nice. The other thing I want you to do is to change your colors. If you've done Excel and Word, we did both of these in Excel and Word. It's where you pick a whole color scheme, and then it's going to keep that color scheme all throughout. Notice it automatically changed this one. Another thing in Slide Master is the slide size. So standard is the size when you want it to be like the old monitors that were skinny, that were square. That makes it square shape. I don't use this very much anymore, except when I want to upload something to Nearpod or something. Most computer screens are widescreen. But you can change the size if you want to. And another thing that's kind of cool is you can even go into custom size. So what if you wanted it to be like you want to design something in PowerPoint that's not a PowerPoint. You just want to use PowerPoint as like a designer. You can make it an 8.5 by 11 page. You can actually change the size of it so that you can treat it like a regular page, print it on a regular piece of paper, So PowerPoint can be a great program for design if you don't have Photoshop or something else fancy. You can always use PowerPoint to do stuff like that. So that's how you change the standard size. I'm going to go ahead and click close, and now you'll notice that every slide is like that. So when I add a new slide, it's already designed. See my section header slide? It's already designed. The font's already there. Everything's set. And so when I design a new one, I don't have to go through the hassle of remembering what font I had or changing the background. It's already planned for me. So that's how the master slides works. We'll be doing a lot more in master slides as we continue on. Okay, the next section is on shapes, and there's a lot under shapes. So you need to know shapes are a big part of PowerPoint. So you probably already know how to insert a shape of some sort. Okay, that's the easy part. You can fill the shape here with different colors. You can fill the shape here with different colors. Notice you can do gradients and textures, which will take you back over here. You can get rid of the outline. You can make the outline thicker. You can make the outline thicker and also add like dots around it. There's all kinds of things you can do there. Shape effects, you can add bevels and whatnot. But one thing you need to know that that will be on the test is when you add a bevel, the test is not always going to just be like, add a bevel. It's going to want you to change options. So you can go to like options, and there's a whole bunch of options in here as well. So if it says make a bevel that's 24 point, then that means over here, the width, I might have to change it in this area to be exact with exactly what I want it to be. And so there may be some, make a glow of this size or this particular color or whatever. So you do have a lot of customization that you can do through here. There's also the presets. I believe I do have you use a preset during this one, which is right here. These are the presets. I think I have used one of these. I think it's this one. And again, it's preset 11. It'll tell you what number it is if you hold over it long enough, right? You can also do text effects. So you can type inside of a shape, and you can change the outline and the text fill and the text effects as well on the inside where the writing is. So you have that ability as well. Now it actually also wants you to know about position. So when I have a shape, I can go over here and do size and position. So size allows me to say exactly how big I want it to be. Okay, and it will actually let me be very exact about the size of it. And then I can even say where I want it to be. I want the horizontal position to be 7, and I want the vertical position to be -0.2. And so I can tell you exactly where you want something to go by putting on the position here. So you can go here. You can also do height and width right there to get to it. That's the shorter way of getting to that. That's one of the first things you'll do is insert a shape that is a specific size. Notice too that everything has names. So when I do a bevel, if I hold my cursor over it, it'll tell me what it is. I think at one point I asked you to do like a convex, which is that one. And I could, again, go in here and say what kind of convex I want and how big the size is going to be, right? You have right here on 3D, right? So you can change that by hand to make it exact. Next is inserting a picture. Again, if you've done the other two, this should be old hat for you by this time, but if you go to insert and you go to pictures, you can do this device, which means you've saved it somewhere. Okay, it's a file that's saved in your document. You can also do online pictures, which, as I said in the introduction, in my school, this gets blocked. The kids aren't able to do online pictures. So if you're in my class, this is what it looks like when you're not on the school where they're blocking it. I'm at my house right now, which is why I can open it. But normally that's how online pictures work. They work fine. And they'll always put a little thingy there that tells you where you got it. But again, in the school system, that might be blocked for you. So sometimes if you're going to get something from the internet, you either want to save it in your file first or just copy and paste it from the internet. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about animations now. I've got a few things in here that I can animate. And so we're going to go over the different types of animations. We're going to do them all right now. So when I go to the animations tab, the first thing you're going to do is open up your animation pane right here. So this is going to show me all the animations as I make them so I can edit them as I need to. Okay. So there's 4 kinds of animations. You first have to click on something that can be animated. So it can be a picture, it can be a shape, it can be words. And then it gives you all the options here. So if I pull this down, the green ones make it come in. Okay. If I do, now no, I want you to watch that. Say I pulled one in, there it is. Now if I go into it again and I pick, I want to see what this does, notice it replaced it. Okay. It actually replaces it. It's not going to keep adding on to them. I'll show you how to add if you want to in a minute. But so these are things that just make it do something. It makes it move or animate in some way, but it doesn't necessarily. Fill color is going to be for words. So like if I do this one, I can do fill color, and it actually filled the background, right, of the paper. So when I click on it, it goes in and it changes the color like that. So that's just what that. So these are emphasis. That's what they do. Another one is an exit, which is the red ones, which will make it go away. Okay. And then of course the last one is the motion path, where it actually has a little pathway, and you'll notice it has a green end and a red end. So I can put the red end wherever I want, and that's where it's going to go. So if I want to watch it, I can go over here, do play from, and it's going to have each thing do everything that I asked to do one at a time. And there's my little motion path. Okay, so those are the 4 basic things, and that's probably something most of you already knew, but I want to go over them again and show you a couple of extra things. So notice that sometimes you're going to have effect options in here. So sometimes you're going to have the option of what color you want it to be, or which direction you want it to go. Like this shrink and turn, I can say, oh, I want it to do it all at once, or by paragraph, or whatever like that. I can have it go different ways, right? So that sometimes they have extra options. Okay. So for example, if I wanted this one to be a wipe entrance, notice I've got a little arrow here that tells me there's something I can do, so I can decide which direction I want it to wipe from. If you want to animate more than one thing on the same animation, so let me clean this up a little bit. This is really ugly, I know, but when I click on this, let's say I want it to come in, and then I want it to do something. Well, if I do pulse, it's going to replace it. So what I do is if I want to do a second animation on the same object, then I'm going to go to add animation and do it there, and then it will add it on. Okay, so now I've got it comes in and it pulses, and then let's say I want it to go away. So now when I play it, it comes in, it pulses, and it goes away. So you can add multiple to the same one. You just have to use the add animation thing to get the second one. Okay, a little bit more about motion paths. When you do a motion path, there's these options, and there's also a custom path, which allows you to draw where you want it to go, and then you just double click when you're done, and it will follow that. I believe in your assignment, I have you move it off the page. So I'm going to zoom out right here, and then I can move it off the page like that, and then I can add my whatever I want it to be. So there's my line, and then I can just say, okay, I want it to come in like right here or something. That gives me that freedom of where I want it to go, like that. Okay, so another thing about animation is deciding how it's going to come in. So if I have a bunch of bullets, you want to ask yourself, do I want them all to come in at once? Do I want to click and then they all come in? Or do I want to click in between each one? So when you're presenting information, you might want to be like, hey, I want to talk about this bullet. I'm going to push it. That bullet comes in. We talk about it. Then I push the button again and the next bullet comes in, right? Because I don't want them to see the next thing and get distracted by it. I want them to do one at a time. So how do I do that differently? So I would make that an entrance. So let's say I want to have them wipe like that and they come in. And then when I go to effect options, that's where I can choose. Do I want it to come in as one object all at once or by paragraph? So as one object, they're all going to come in at the same time. Okay, if I do all at once, they come in like that. Or by paragraph, they're going to come in one at a time. So let's watch it. If I go through it, I'm having to click each time to get that to come in, okay? But if I change that to as one object, then when I come to it, I just clicked once and they all came in, okay? Now you might think, well, why does that matter? But when you're presenting it, it could matter quite a bit. It just depends on what your goal is. Now, while we're dealing with objects, an object, by the way, is just any item you've brought in, whether it's text or a shape or an image or a graph or whatever. Those are all considered objects. So sometimes you might want them to be in a different order. Maybe I want this to be behind that. So I would right click and do send to back. That's if I want it to go all the way to the back. Or I could just send it back one layer. So I could do send back, just send back backward, and then it would just go back one layer. So you have a little bit more finesse in exactly where you want it. Or I could right click and do bring to front, right? So you can change the order that they are in, and you can also group them. So I'm gonna move this around a little bit, get it out of my way. So this is ugly, I don't know why I would want to do this, but if I wanted to group these into one thing, I can click on this, hold down the control key and click on this, or I can just click and drag across so they're both highlighted. I can right click and I can group them, just like that. So now they're grouped. They can still be ungrouped So it's not like set in stone. I can always ungroup them. But if there's something that I'm going to be moving a lot and I want them to stay together and I don't want them to, I want them, that way I can move them without it causing issues. But it is still editable. And so notice that it kind of changed my font a little bit when I moved it. So they can still be moved apart from each other. It just allows me to group them. Okay. Header and footer is a little different in this than it is in the other two programs. If you go to insert and header and footer, that's the same. But you can go down here and just type in what you want the footer to be. You can add a date and time if you want. You can change how it's going to look on the notes and the handouts. If you're going to do notes and you want it to show up on that, you're going to want to enter that in. I don't have you do that in the assignment, but know that it's there. Your page number is also, you can add a page number there, right here where it says slide number. So that will add a slide there. And so then when I do apply to all, it's going to show up. But also notice that I do have the option to say do not show untitled slides. So I can do add to all, apply to all, but I can check this box so that all of the slides have my header except my first slide. Now, if you're like, okay, I like that, but I don't like where the footer is and I don't like what color it is, that's something you would change in the Slide Master. So you don't have much control right now where the footers are and what color they are. But if you were to go to the Slide Master over here, you can change where you can put them up here if you want. You can get rid of this one if you don't want it. You can, you would have a lot more. You can make it look like that, And then all my footers are going to be in that spot. So that's not in the assignment, but just know that you have that ability in the Slide Master to change that. Rearranging slides is super simple, but you can rearrange the order they're in by clicking and dragging over here in your slide sorter. So looking at views for a minute, this is normal view where you can see it, the big one, and then you have the little thumbnails over here. There's also a slide sorter that just shows you all of them. Once we get into section headers, this one's much more useful. So those are different views, handouts, if you wanted to see what it looks like if you're going to print a copy or whatever, but there are different views in here, but the normal view is the one we use the most, and that's the one where you'd want to go to change the order that they're in. Okay, we're going to talk about some paragraph information. So if you have some paragraphs in here, all of this was in Word if you did Word, but you can center, you can put it to the left, you can justify it to the edges, you can add a color to the background. So you can come in here to, if I click on this, I can go to drawing tools and I can add a color background. I can add an outline to it if I want. There's also in the home, there's this align text, which allows me to line it to the middle or the center, which might not matter, but like this is a good example. So if I have my title here, okay, right now it's aligning on the bottom. So I can go to align text and I can align to the middle, or I can align to the top. So that can be good. Text direction as well. You can change the direction of your text. There is a part where I ask you to move your text to the side. So you can just move it this way, or you can do the direction over here. Now also when you have bullets, a tab will bring you in a level, Shift tab will take you out. So if you want to change the order, and notice it goes pretty far, okay? So if you want to change the order, you got to hold down the Shift key and press tab to go back a level, and then tab to go forward a level. Let's talk a little bit about layouts. If we go in here to layout, there are several different types, and we looked at this a little bit when we were looking at the Slide Master, but there's a title slide, which will make it have the center section, and then the subtitle, okay? You've got title and content, which is your standard slide with the bullets. And then section header, which we'll get into a little bit later, which is like a subheader throughout the document. To content is also one we use a lot, where it basically puts it into two columns. And then the other one that you may use is the comparison right here, where you have, this is the same thing as two columns, except it gives you a spot for the title. And then there's also blank. Title only will get rid of, it just gets rid of the placeholder. And then there's also blank, which obviously makes it blank. So these, if you do it from here, you're going to change an existing slide. But if you do new slide, you can just add a new slide. It will enter a completely brand new slide, right? So that's different ways to use your layout. Okay, we're going to move on to Smart Art. So with Smart Art, if you're in a situation like this, you can click on this and just open up and create a Smart Art. And then you would type in your information here, okay? Which again, we've done that in Word, but if you already have information set up and you want to put this into Smart Art, you would click on the box it's in, and then go to home, and right here it says convert to SmartArt. You're going to click on that, and you probably want to just go, you can test each one out and see what they do, but you might want to just go to more SmartArt so you can find the right one. And then again, if you hold your cursor over it, it will tell you what the right one is. This is one you're going to use for this assignment right there, and it will put it into SmartArt for you. Okay, and notice when you're adding to SmartArt, you don't want to do it in here. You always want to do it over here. So if I wanted to do Enter Tab, I can put in information, you know, below that, right? So it gives me that ability to add things to it. Okay, so that's how you would create it if you already have it. Now you can also change your colors here if you already have set color goals, like if in your master slides, if you already set a color section, then it's going to be a lot easier to pick the colorful accents like this. And then of course you can choose your style over here. Now you can change the colors manually if you click on it. I just picked a weird style. That makes it hard to deal with. Okay, so you can click here and you can choose a different color individually right there. So I can choose my own fill color. I don't have to go with the presets, but that is how I would do that. Now also in SmartArt, there are options. This one right here, I actually missed this on the 2019 test. I couldn't find it, where it asked me to switch it from right to left. So if it asks you to do that, that is how you can. Different text box or different SmartArts will have different options depending on what you pick, but you can change the direction that it goes. Now there's also a way to use Format Painter. Again, Format Painter is something we've talked about a lot in other classes, in other subjects, but a Format Painter will paint your information from one section to another. So let's say I just kind of type this in really quick. Let's say that I want to get this formatting over to here. I can highlight it, go to Format Painter, and it's going to copy the formatting, right? But you can also do that with backgrounds. Like I actually really hate this background that I randomly picked. It's bugging me. So maybe I want this background on it, because you'll notice when I add a new slide, it's always going to do that. If I haven't gone into Slide Master and put backgrounds in, it'll just make a white slide. But if I want this formatting, I can literally click on it over here in the sorter and click Format Painter and then click on it and it will copy it. So you can format paint backgrounds to other pages, but you just have to do it in here. So let's talk a little bit about inserting a chart. There's a couple ways to do that. You can go to Insert and Chart, or if you have a placeholder, you can click right there, and then you can choose what kind of chart you want to enter. So when you pick your chart type, and again, if you've done Excel, this will be a lot easier, but even if you haven't, it's pretty simple. But you would want to put like what you want your title to be. So let's say I do, we'll keep sales, and then I'm doing different cities. So Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympia. Okay. And then I'm like, I don't need fourth quarter. I don't need that one. So I'm literally going to just grab this and pull it up like that. So I'd no longer have that fourth option, because I don't need that. I can delete it out if I want, and then I can put in, you know, my new numbers, whatever, to make it look the way I want. Once you've created it, you can close that, and then your chart tools are right here, and you can change what it looks like. You can add a quick layout so it has percentages. I always want you to do percentages. And I can't really see mine very well, so I'm going to go to Elements, and I'm going to go to Data Labels and do Data Callout, and then I can see my percentages. And in this case, I really don't need both this and this, right? So I'm going to change it to that style so you can see better. I don't necessarily need a legend, right? So I can go here and just turn the legend off because I don't need that. Sometimes they're in the wrong spot, so you might want to click on it again, and then you can use your four-sided arrow to move it. So if you need to adjust where the signs are, you can do that. So I believe in your assignment, I do ask you to do a call out, a data call out for that. You can change your colors here. You can even click on it and then click again, and then it looks just like when you're changing a background color, right? You can change it over here just like you're changing a background color. Okay, so that's basically all you're going to need to know about charts for this particular assignment. Let's look at some other placeholders here. When you're inserting a video, you have to go find the folder. Sometimes though, I think in your assignment, it's actually a link. So you can't use the placeholder. You have to go to Insert. So I click on it so that it takes that spot, but you have to go to Insert Video and then do Online Video and then paste the YouTube link. So I would just paste the YouTube link there, and then it finds it, and then I can click on it and insert it right inside. And because I had that highlighted, it will take that spot and put it there. Same with using the 3D model right here. 3D model, again, in my classroom sometimes doesn't work, sometimes does, but this is what it looks like if you can't get it to work. Just so you know, you can click on it here, you insert it, and then it will put it in the space and you can turn it whichever direction you want it to go. 3D models are cool. I don't really know why you'd ever want to use them, but they're cool. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about sound. There's 2 ways you can add sound. There's 3 ways, but the 3rd way we won't do yet today. So you can add sound to animations and you can add sound to transitions, okay? So to add it to an animation, I'd have to first animate something. So I'm gonna go ahead and animate that. It comes in, right? And then when I have my animation pane, I now can see the animation right there. So I just click on it and I can do effect options. And then where it says no sound, I can choose one of the really lame and awful sounds that come with PowerPoint. For simplicity's sake, I am having you do that in this assignment. It's one of the rules I'm breaking that in a really good assignment, you probably wouldn't use a really good PowerPoint. You wouldn't use any of these, but for simplicity's sake, there you go. So I could just do that and then it's going to make that sound. But no, I mean, you can do effect options. You can pull this down. You can do custom sound or other sound. So if you have a sound somewhere that is better, you know, that's how you'd insert a video or music or something like that. But you can insert sound that way as well. So you can get your own sounds and put them in. They do have to be WAV files. So it won't play an MP3 file, just FYI. Okay, so that's adding sound that way. The other one is with transition. So with transitions, you go to the transition tab. And then over here, it will say no sound. And you just can, again, we'll use one of the lame sounds that comes with it. But what that does is that when I click on that, when I'm actually watching the PowerPoint, let's actually put one right here on the very opening so we can see it. So I can add, you know, an explosion or something. So now when I go to watch it, if I when I click on that thing, so there it is, there's that one I just added, it will add those sounds when you change the slide, okay? So you can put it in the transition or in the animation. Next thing I want to talk about is hyperlinks. So to do a hyperlink, it's pretty much identical to what it is in other programs, but let's actually make a button. So I'm going to do insert. I'm going to grab a little shape, maybe make it look pretty because, you know, that's what we do, right? And I could say, you know, push me, right? And I want to go ahead and have that go to a website. So I can right click and do hyperlink, or of course you can go to insert and do link. And then you would just type the address of where you want it to go right there and click OK. So now when I'm running the PowerPoint, I do have to be in this really awful PowerPoint I'm making right now. It's not a good example. I do the push me and then that website will come up, and it just came up over here. Okay. So that's how you do a hyperlink. One of the things that we're going to use in this is called reuse slides. This is another thing that was on the 2016 test that I was like, what's that? I had no idea it existed. And so I had to teach myself during the show. But what you're going to do is go to new slide and you go to reuse slides. So this is if you want to pull in slides from another existing PowerPoint. So I'm going to go to reuse slides, and then I can do right here, I can go to browse and I can find a PowerPoint I've already created. So let's say I have this one. And it shows me all the slides, and then I can just click on the ones I want, and it will literally just insert those in. And notice when it inserted them, they're not gorgeous, but it changed them. It didn't keep the formatting. It moved to the new formatting, right? So it rewrote it to the new formatting of how I set this one up instead of making it look like it did in the picture. Okay, so that's how you can get slides that you've already got that exist somewhere else. It can be very useful. Okay, there's another kind of button I want to show you that you can create, and that's called an action button. So when we go to insert shapes, of course we have all these shapes to choose from, right? We also have down here what are called action buttons. And what they do is they're like play buttons. They tell you to play or go home, or it'll send you to elsewhere in the document. So if I click on this one that looks like a house and I draw it right here, it will automatically say hyperlink to first slide. Now you can pull it down and change it to previous or last or first, or you can even go to slide and select exactly which slide you want to go to. But generally you want to go back to the first slide. It's like I can go back home. I can go back to the beginning. And then I click OK. And then when I'm watching the PowerPoint, oh, that sound is so annoying. When I'm watching the PowerPoint and I get to this weird slide right here, I can click on this button and it will automatically send me back to the first slide. Okay, so that's what action buttons do, and there are quite a few of them in here that go forward and back and whatnot, or return or whatever, video. There's a whole bunch of different ones in here. And when you pull these in, you can change them just like you would anything else. You can add shape effects, bevels, whatever to them to make them look right. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to crop a picture and how to remove the background. So I found a picture right here of this little kitty. I'm going to copy it and then I'm going to paste it. So now I have this picture in here and I want to crop it. So to crop, I go, once I have the picture highlighted, I can click on Picture Tools and I can click on Crop. And it brings up these special handles and it allows me to pull the sides in to a different way, like that. Press Enter or click off when I'm done. You can also do what's called Crop to Shape, where you come over here and you pick a shape and it will crop it to that shape. Now, if you are like, oh, I want the cat moved over a little bit, I don't like exactly where that is, you can do Fit and then you can move it to exactly where you want it to be inside the little box. So that's not in the assignment, but good to know. So that's how you crop. And then if you wanted to remove the background entirely, let's see, this one's not too bad because it's got kind of a similar background color. What I would do is on the Picture Tools, I come over here to Remove Background, and then it says Mark Areas to Keep. So I want to push that, and I want it, everything that's pink I'm going to lose. So I just kind of go through here and kind of highlight all the areas that I want to keep, and if I'm feeling like that's pretty good. If there's something I want to remove, I can click on this and say, oh, for some reason I don't want him to have a tail anymore, right? So you can have some freedom as to where it goes. It's not perfect, it's not Photoshop, it's not going to be like perfect, but it works. Then I click Keep Changes, and now I've got the background removed from the picture. So this next part is about section headings, and we're gonna go in more detail about this in a future lesson, but this is kind of your first taste of it. So when I do a new slide and I make it the one that's called section header, that's a type of slide, and you're gonna design the slide. So you're gonna, like, you know, draw like a square, a shape, and you're gonna put all kinds of stuff in it, and you're gonna design it in a certain way. And the way that section headers are designed is that they should, that every time you're kind of doing a new subject, that's going to show up. And it kind of says, okay, we're moving on to the next section now, right? So there's my little thing. I've created it, and then maybe I've pulled in a picture here. We'll just do an icon to make it simple. Okay, so I pull in a little icon, and then, so that's how I want all of my sections to look every time there's a section header. So in the assignment, it actually has you copy and paste the things that made it look different. You're going to copy that, and then you're going to go to the slide master and then find the one that says it's the section header, this one. And I'm going to paste it in there, and I might want to do send to back as well so I know it's in there. So what that does is now when I close it and I'm like, oh, I'm ready for my next section header, when I added in a new section header, it's already designed for me. Okay, and then also notice that first one that I made, I believe it was this one, I actually have two now. I can delete the ones I inserted because now it's part of the background. I actually made it part of the background. Another thing that you're going to be doing in the slide sorter, in the slide master, is adding custom bullets. So when you have bullets in here, here's some bullets on this one. I'm going to go to my slide master here in view. And I'm going to choose different bullets mainly it's on this. If you do on the very first one, then it'll apply to everything below it. So I'm going to do it on the first one. And while I'm in here, I am going to change the background because it has been so ugly. This entire show, how ugly that background is. And I just can't stand it anymore. Okay. So now I'm ready to change my bullets. This is also still ugly, but not as bad. So I'm going to change my bullets, and I can come into, I'm in Slide Master, but I'm going to go to Home, still in the Slide Master. And I can change the bullets here to like one of the ones that they have, you know, that's totally fine. Okay. You can go to Bullets and Numbering, and you can go to, you can click on any one of these, right? Or you can go to Picture and go find a picture that you'd want to use. So I found one of these in my stuff over here, and it's really cute, but the problem is it's a little big. So I'm going to actually use my ruler here to move this over so that there's a little bit more space. Okay, and I can do the second level as well if I want to. I have to go through all the same steps to do the second level, and it just pulls that other picture in, and I might want to move that one over as well, right? So now when I close that, all my bullets are automatically changed, to what I set it to, right? Because I put it on all of them. And then if I were to start a new slide, you know, the new ones are gonna show up. All right, nothing we haven't done is tables. So to create a table, running out of slides here, let's do a new slide here. You can use a table right here to create one, or you can do insert table here, okay? So if I do that, I can decide how many I want it to be, and then I can type in it as I want, okay? And if I go to the end and press tab, it will give me new ones. I can also choose different table styles, and notice that they have names. I believe I have you pick a specific table style in here, so make sure you're paying attention to what those names are. You can also align your text if you need to by clicking on layout, and that allows you to center it both going the middle, vertically and horizontally if you need to do that as well. All right, we're going to move on to transitions. This is really simple. There's a transitions tab. And this is how the slide's going to change as you click on the next slide, okay? And so I know a lot of kids get really excited about this, and they'll put a different one on every slide. And just while we're talking about rules to a good PowerPoint, which this is not a good PowerPoint that we're looking at here, you don't want to do that. It's really obnoxious if you have a different transition between every slide. In general, you want to do something a little more fun for your first one. And then all the others, make it simple like fade or something where it's really basic. So what I like to do is I'll just do fade, and then I'll say apply to all. So now they're all set to fade, and then I go back to the first one and I set a different one for that one. And that sound is obnoxious. I'm taking it out. Okay, so that's how you change your transitions, and that is how you add sound to a transition if you need to. I just took it off because it was bugging me so much. Okay, and then make sure you run the show. Press F5, or you can go to slideshow and do from beginning, and that will let you run the show and like actually see how it looks as you're bringing everything in. The last thing we want to talk about is printing. You may not actually be printing this. That's going to be up to your teacher if they want you to print or not, but it is kind of important to understand how to print something from PowerPoint, because the problem is if you go to PowerPoint, you just type print, it's going to print full color pages. Like all slides in full color, 15 pages of that. That is a waste of ink and paper and time. And rarely is that ever going to be what you actually want to do. So you can come down here to full page slides and you can say, oh, I just want 9 to a page, right? Now it's 2 pages, which is what you'll do on this assignment if you're printing. And then if you can, you want to print on both sides. If you have a double-sided printer that will send it through double-sided, then do that. In my classroom we do, but if you don't, then you'll just have to have it be 2 pages. But I want you to also look at the other options and what they do, like what the different types. Like you can have an outline here, and it will just have all the words and not the pictures. For slides, or the notes pages is great if you want people to take notes of what you're doing. Or the what's the one? This one right here, the 3 slides. This is great if you want to have notes and you print them out for your students, and then they type, they write in what their notes for each slide or whatever. So those are different options. Play with those a little bit. Just make sure you're familiar with them and you get how they work. Scale to fit paper means that no matter what size it is, it will make it fit on the page. So the last thing I want to talk to you about, final thing, is about collating versus uncollating. And the only reason I'm telling you this is because it is on the MOS test. Okay. So all it is deciding how you're going to print. So let's say I'm printing these notes pages for all of my students. Okay. So I'm printing, 25 copies because I have 25 students and I want to pass them out to each kid. Right. So I can decide whether I want to collate that or uncollate it. So collated means it's going to print slides 1 through 5, and then slides 1 through 5, and then slides 1 through 5, or pages 1 through 5, and then I can staple each together. So it's going to print it like in miniature packets. If I uncollate it, then it's going to print 5 page 1s, 5 page 2s, 5 page 3s, and it's going to put them in different piles so it's just a question of how you want it to print. Ultimately, you're going to get the same thing. It's just basically what order do you want it printed in. So that's what uncollated means. All right, we did a lot today. This was a lot. This was a big assignment. Okay, from here on out, we're going to do some more advanced features in lessons 2 and 3, and then 4 is just a fun assignment that's more advanced. But they won't be as long as this one as far as new stuff. So hopefully a lot of this you already knew, but I'm sure you've learned some new things, and I'm excited to see you back here for lesson 2. Have a good day.